right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. And we are going to do the 17th verse of the Tao Te Ching. I'll be sharing my thoughts and reading along from Dr. Wayne Dyer's Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life. Like we've already done 16 previous times in this series. And today's verse and today's writing, Wayne Dyer, titles Living as an Enlightened Leader. So, without any further ado, we'll just go right into the 17th verse. With the greatest leader above them, people barely know one exists. Next comes one whom they love and praise. Next comes one whom they fear. Next comes one who they despise and defy. When a leader trusts no one trusts him. The great leader speaks little. He never speaks carelessly. He works without self-interest and leaves no trace. When all is finished, the people say, "We did it ourselves." And that is the 17th verse of the Tao Te Ching. That is a really powerful one, talking about leadership, which is fascinating because all of these verses so far have been very deep spiritual messages that boggle the mind, but this is clear and makes perfect sense. A couple of my favorite bits from there is that with the greatest leader, people barely know one exists. And then the opposite of that, when a leader trusts no one trusts him. When they cause fear, in return, they get despised and defied. The great leader speaks little. But then the favorite part at the end there is, when all is finished, through this great leadership, the people, the workers, whoever it is, say, "We have done this ourselves." All right, let's go into living as an enlightened leader and see what Wayne Dyer can teach us today. Get our minds going. I think it's one of the reasons I love doing this, is because it's great. You know, you could be thinking anything or be doing anything else at the moment, but I think it's important to take the time to get your mind going on wonderful stuff such as this. So, living as an enlightened leader. To reflect the lesson in this verse of the Tao Te Ching, Wayne Dyer begins, means changing how you see authority, which means viewing great or enlightened leaders as those who don't actually lead anyone. Interesting. Through the perspective of the Tao, such individuals create an environment where everyone feels that they have personal responsibility to and are a part of the process. This is good already. By adopting this model of an enlightened leader, you'll be more than likely to alter the ways you criticize and admire captains of industry, government, religion, as well as the way you guide others. The advice in this 17th verse is directed towards leaders of all kinds. In fact, you can personalize it by substituting the words parent or teacher for leader. Interesting. Interesting. Examine the ways you view your own tactics and then make the changes that are necessary in order to be someone who makes an enlightening difference in the lives of others. Sorry, lost my spot. But it's just so fascinating. The point that made me stop there for a minute was changing the way you look at captains of industry. I'm not so sure about government or religion. That's just my personal point of view, because when it comes to those two things, I think their key tacks are, back to the 17th verse, when next comes one whom they fear, and then next comes one whom they despise and defy. When a leader trusts no one trusts him. So let's keep that in mind. The true great leader speaks little. works without self-interest. And the people say we did it. All right. I, for some reason, just wanted to clarify that. First, you must stay in the background and become an astute observer of what's taking place. Then ask yourself how. Without interfering, you can create an environment that will help everyone act responsibly. The Tao advises making yourself as invisible as possible if you truly wish to be an effective leader. See, that's an interesting, kind of opposite of what most people would think. And so, thus, Wayne Dyer continues, perhaps your best strategy would be to actually leave the room and allow everyone else to act without feeling that they need to impress you. Maybe you should offer a slight suggestion and then an immediate departure. A knowing smile or gesture that conveys to the group that you trust in its ability to figure things out that might work best. Possibly what's needed is for you to tell a quick story of how others have resolved similar issues, or you could simply meditate and send positive conflict resolving energy to all the individuals present. And to some people that might sound ridiculous, but I've practiced it and I've seen it work. Whatever your decision, you'll be aware of the need to create an environment where everyone will be able to say, we fixed it ourselves without the need for any interference from anyone. We really don't need a supervisor. This approach, of course, involves suspending your desire to be seen as a strong authority figure. And I've experienced this in my, my own work life that, when you have such a good team that knows exactly what needs to be done, it works along those same lines. The ineffectiveness or fear as a leadership style is obvious. If I can get you to do as I desire by using that weapon, fear, then you'll only behave in these ways as long as I have the power to threaten you. Fascinating. When I leave, my influence over you departs as well. And I've seen this also in other work cultures to where, but it's interesting relating this to, the different areas of life that these philosophies could apply to, whether it's, teaching and raising children, or being a manager or leader in the workplace, or being, a owner of your own business, or, all these different avenues, and then all the way to the relationship between government and citizens. It's just fascinating that these kind of metaphors play into each of those categories, in my opinion. Now, in that key bit right there, if you're using fear as a strategy for your leadership style, those that fear you will only fear you. You only behave in these ways as long as they have the power to threaten you. When they leave, their influence over you departs as well. Wayne Dyer continues, studies have measured the effectiveness of teachers who were considered strict disciplinarians. And I guarantee every one of us remembers the teacher that was just so dang strict, you never learned nothing in the class. Students in this setting were well behaved when the feared individual was in the room, yet when he or she departed the classroom, you know how it was. Everybody starts throwing paper wads at each other. And at least that's how it was for me. The opposite was true of instructors who viewed education as an opportunity to praise and encourage students. Their presence or absence from the room had almost no noticeable impact. This is a great thing to keep in mind. He's now, if you're a mother or father, that is, do you want your children to behave only when you're around, or do you want them to, like I'll cut in here using the metaphor of like the team that knows exactly what to do, so the leader doesn't have to be there all the time telling them what to do. It operates efficiently, and the team or the child or the people say, we did it ourselves. You become your own leader. Your own leader. I had no idea this. I guess I should have known it was going to be about leadership, but the least self-discipline. I'll go back a sec here. This is a great thing to keep in mind if you're a mother or father. That is, do you want your children to behave only when you're around, or do you want them to have self-discipline to conduct themselves wisely, whether you're there or not? I've always believed that parents are not for leaning upon, but rather exist to make leaning unnecessary. Wayne Dyer's got some great philosophies about teaching and raising children. He's also got some books on that. The least effective means, he continues, for managing others is to use tactics that will encourage them to despise you. For the moment they leave your sight, they'll defy you, all that you say and stand for. Dictators almost always find this out the hard way when the people they've abused rise up and threaten them in the same intolerable fashion which they've been treated. Children who despise a parent similarly tend to emulate the hateful tactics to which they are subjected, or they detach themselves completely from that dictatorial adult and spend years attempting to heal the scars from the terrible treatment. Intense. That's an intense subject. The enlightened leader trusts those whom he or she is in a position to govern. And, it's these kind of things that have to deal with everybody's, something that everybody can kind of relate to because it's a part of life. And that's what makes psychology and understanding the way we work and knowing how to work through that to heal ourselves. That's why I'm so fascinated with this, because we all really need the knowledge and the wisdom to help ourselves go through anything that it is that we go through in life. But I'll jump back in here now. The enlightened leader. The view results in trust, as he or she who has faith in the people will be trusted by them in turn. Consequently, they'll be able to say, we did it ourselves. So raise your children to be self-sufficient, to make their own decisions as soon as they're able, and to feel pride in the decisions they do make. See yourself as an enlightened leader. Show up and show the world a new type of leadership that is needed so much. I'll add there. Children who grow up with such a view will be the next generation of great leaders that Lao-tzu describes. Here's what I believe Wayne Dyer says the esteemed master Lao-tzu was offering us today. Instead of believing that you know what's best for others, trust that they know what's best for themselves. One of the things that I love that he says all the time in his talks is everybody only knows how to be what they are. It's kind of a cop-out if you want to take it that way, but instead of believing that you know what's best for others, trust that they know what's best for themselves, and they can only be who they are. So often different people have different characteristics, and some people have, better values and morals and characteristics than other, and it becomes easy for us to judge other people, wanting them to be a different way than they are. I mean, it's great when people can grow and learn, but it's interesting to note that wanting somebody to not be what they are is kind of a erroneous or crazy behavior, crazy thing to be thinking, because we can only be what we are. That doesn't mean that we can't be better, though, because then that'll be what we are. And so let's get there, ladies and gentlemen. Now, back to Wayne Dyer here. Allow other people to share their thoughts about the path they see for themselves. let your position be known, but also convey that you trust them to make the right choice. Then step back and peacefully believe that the way you look at this situation will change. That's a really great sentiment there. And I think a lot of us should do that with things that happen maybe 10 times a day. We should step back, like know that we made the best choice that we could. Because so often people, I feel like somebody might need this. So often people are doubting their decisions all the time and their choices, and it gives them stress and anxiety, and it diminishes your health, and it goes in a full circle. And so if we can learn to trust ourselves to make the right choice, step back and peacefully believe that the way that we look at the situation right now will be different even 10 minutes later. Or, whether it's a day or a month, but when you step back and let go, so that's another key to manifesting right there. But I think just take it more practically and forget about the manifesting part. That's a key to releasing and reducing unnecessary stress and anxiety in life. By being able to practice, because you can't do it first try. This is stuff that you have to do it 50 times, and then it starts to become easier and it starts to work better. But, if you do it 10 times a day, by the 5th day, you'll be on time 50, and you'll be able to step back and believe that the way we look at situations will change. And that's great. Now, let's continue. Trust yourself. I'll leave that one there to hang for a second. Trust yourself. To give the best response, Wayne Dyer continues, by not seeing yourself as knowing what's right. Interesting. Remember this phrase from the Tao Te Ching: when a leader trusts no one trusts him. The surest way to gain the faith of those you govern or supervise is to allow them to make as many decisions as possible. Take pride. This is the next little segment here that he's offering us. Take pride in refusing to take credit for the achievements of others. So give yourself credit for refusing to take credit for others' achievements. If you look at others' accomplishments as a reason for you to be rewarded, promoted, or complimented, change your viewpoint. Let praise go to those who are the benefactors or beneficiaries of your leadership. Speak less frequently and suspend your self-interest. Instead, allow everyone in your care to speak for themselves. Change how you see their performance from being a credit to your skill to the thrill they exhibit over their accomplishment. You'll cease wanting credit and alternatively feel the happiness and pride that they're experiencing. This is how Hafiz, I like that name. I'll have to research Hafiz. In his 14th century poetry, described it. Even after all this time, the sun never says to the earth, "You owe me." Look what happens with a love like that. It lights the whole sky. Definitely got to look up Hafiz. And then Wayne Dyer continues, love those you're entrusted to lead just as the sun loves our planet. Simply be there to serve, never demanding anything in return. How may I serve? How can I help? These are the things that should be part of our daily thought list, part of our repetitive thoughts. Now, to finish the 17th verse of the Tao Te Ching, choose to do the Dow now. Choose some situations with your children or anyone. you've been designated to supervise, to become an active observer. Nod, smile, frown, or gesture without saying a thing. Probably so often we get on, we get hyped up and start yelling and without saying a thing where you previously would have readily interfered. Notice how your active observing impacts those you've been assigned to lead. That's a really good one. I like that. Next one is called Living Without Rules. That'll be next Tuesday, Tuesday Dow. Trying to do this every Tuesday, and we've been doing well for the last few weeks in a row, ladies and gentlemen. And it's been a lot of fun. I was really glad the lighting was so good today. You can almost see the whole painting in the background there, except for the mountains, but that's fine. If you're interested in getting yourself a copy of this book, it's linked in the description below, as well as a link to my Etsy shop with all my landscape paintings available. I also have another YouTube channel, CLC Paint. If you want to learn and follow along with me, I'll teach you the easiest ways to paint a landscape, Bob Ross style. But this was a fantastic one. Living as an enlightened leader. The enlightened form of leadership, ladies and gentlemen. When it is all finished, the people say, we did it ourselves. If you got value, consider subscribing, smash the like button, leave me a comment, let me know what you think. And I love everybody and appreciate everybody for spending their time with me. And I'll be back in the future tomorrow for Wednesday Wisdom. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Stay good.